I'm Tim, welcome to our channel, and thanks for logging on. Well, what we have here is a competition that must be at least a year in the making. Many times requested, but I never had these two references in our inventory side by side until today. Arguably the two ultimate diving watches of the two foremost mainstream Swiss high horology brands. What we have here are the ultimate dive watches from Omega on the left, the Omega Seamaster Professional Coaxial 1200 meters, the PLOPROF Reborn, and on the right, the Rolex Oyster Perpetual Deepsea Sea Dweller, reference 116660 in stainless steel in both cases. These are the ultimate dive watches from two of the most redoubtable giants of Swiss watchmaking, each containing the best technology and the most extreme solutions to the challenges of deep submergence, and quite frankly, each one making an incredible visual statement when on the wrist. Now, we're going to start with the tail of the scale because I know you're dying to know which watch is more massive. So we fire up our handy-dandy scale, and of course SI, System International, because we're Worldsley right here. And the Deepsea, with 209 grams, makes a pretty impressive statement. Now this is almost half a pound for those who are looking for a English or imperial units reference. So that's one heck of a tank for the wrist. Let's see what the PLOPROF can bring. As you can see, whether you're measuring in grams or ounces, it's not even close. The PLOPROF on the shark-proof mesh bracelet with its massive clasp easily outweighs the Deepsea, and not just by grams. If you wanted to convert this into ounces, it would be ounces ahead. This is a massive timepiece. Now, the little scale disappears, and what happens now is we focus on the individual traits of these timepieces because each one is impressive and takes a different tack to solving the challenges of deep submergence. It's probably fair to say that neither one of these watches is suitable for everyday use. If you have a tank of a wrist, you might be able to get away with the Deepsea, but these special use, special occasion timepieces are probably the most extensively engineered references in their manufacturer's catalog, short of grand complications on the Omega side, annual calendars, and chronographs on the Rolex side. Now, the first thing to note about the Deepsea Sea Dweller is that it debuted in 2008, and in a couple of ways, it was a trailblazer. First, it was the very first of the Rolex watches to feature Chromolite, the blue-colored Super Luminova variant that Rolex makes in-house. And of course, it did debut a couple of innovations with respect to case construction. You'll note the ring lock system mentioned on the dial. Perhaps it's not necessary to feature it in super graphics, nor is it necessary to mention that the watch features Rolex's helium escape valve, a system it pioneered in the late 60s for Comex. Nevertheless, it has both. It's the ring lock construction that makes this watch really fascinating, mostly because the watch uses one of Rolex's only and largest applications of titanium. Now, the caseback is all of titanium and solid, and the way the ring lock system works is it takes its roughly 5mm thick crystal and it sits it on this flange inboard of the bezel. So it actually sits on the flange, and the flange is directly connected to the caseback such that all of the load-bearing members of the watch essentially proceed from the crystal to the caseback, sparing the rest of the case construction the pressure of depth. So it's essentially a vertical column of solid material that supports that 3,900 meters of water pressure. Now, the other thing about the watch is that it is massive. Though 44 millimeters in size, this is a bigger 44 than the other 44 millimeter Rolex reference, the Yachtmaster 2. That one is more compact. It has finer, more shapely and delicately tapered lugs. It's not as thick and it's not as long lug to lug. Although this watch is 44 millimeters across the broad of the case, the watch is an impressive span across the wrist. This timepiece is actually 55.5 millimeters when measured from solid end link of bracelet to opposite solid end link. So again, 55.5 is downright huge. It should be noted that something truly massive like a IWC Big Pilot is only 57 millimeters across the wrist, so you get a sense of what kind of size class this watch is in. You can also see that ring lock system means that the watch is 18 millimeters thick, but you do get what you pay for in terms of solidity, fit, and finish. Everything is beautifully rendered, all solid links, and the bracelet definitely goes a step beyond any other Rolex diving reference short of the Sea Dweller 4000. Now it's called the Oyster Lock Bracelet, solidly built, milled out from a single block of steel. The first trick up its sleeves is the Glide Lock system. Now Glide Lock allows you to incrementally adjust the fit of the watch up to 20 millimeters internally. The other feature it has is known as flip lock, and you can see it right built into the links of the bracelet. So not only can you adjust it micrometrically, but you can also deploy a dive extension such that between the two you have almost 2 inches of adjustability. So 2 inches or about 50 millimeters of adjustability built into the clasp. This is not a feature you'll find on the Submariners. Now in terms of mechanics, the watch features Rolex's tried and true reference 3135. It's the same you'll find in the Submariner, and for that matter, it's the same one you'll find in the Datejust. Robust 31 joules bidirectional winding. It's a COSC certified Swiss chronometer. It does feature a quick set for the date. It does feature hacking for the seconds hand. It is a COSC certified chronometer as a movement, but then it's also put into the case, and in the case of the Deepseas, the watch is tested to chronometer specifications as a fully cased up watch, and it's tested down to its rated depth in a special machine that Rolex constructed in-house expressly for that purpose, so it's both robust and precise. And of course, with a Breguet overcoil hairspring, it has resistance to gravity or positionally induced timing variation. With a full balance bridge dual anchored with a free-sprung balance, it also has resistance to shock-induced timing variations. And of course, this is one of the ceramic bezel Rolex timepieces with that nearly indelible Cerachrom bezel that has the platinum melted into wells for the indices and the numerals. Very handsome, very robust. And of course, with the thick crystal that obviates the option of the Cyclops eye, it's actually a little bit cleaner on its dial than a standard Submariner. Now jumping to the other big boy in our test, you can see that almost everything about the Seamaster 1200 meter is different than the Deepsea. First of all, it has unrivaled theatrics with respect to bezel operation. The bezel is entirely sapphire capped, which means that it can also be entirely luminescent. More on that in a moment, but when you depress the plunger, as with the original, you can actually move it in either direction for convenience. The rationale being there's literally no way you could actually extend your dive by accident given this release trigger system. Now the watch features a more extensive crown guard than the original. It should be mentioned that the original PLOPROF from the early to late 70s was a 600 meter rated watch. Also, the original PLOPROF did not feature this watch's helium escape valve, so this timepiece is not just rated to a higher depth, it's more comprehensively equipped, and the crown guard on this one offers all aspect protection. It also works a little bit more conventionally than the original PLOPROF crown, which was, for want of a better term, unique. One might say idiosyncratic was a better way to describe it. This one, fully shielded, operates more or less conventionally once you've screwed it out. Now, of course, the caliber 8500 inside, in this case, Omega doesn't even attempt a display case back, but the caliber 8500 inside endows the watch with 60 hours power reserve via dual mainspring barrels, automatic winding bidirectional like the Rolex, 39 joules. It is a coaxial caliber, and unlike the 2500s and the 3300 chronograph calibers, the 8500 and the 9300 are designed as coaxials from the start, so they're both robust and essentially built from scratch to the Daniels architecture. So they have an unusual beat rate of 25,200 vibrations per hour. The Rolex operates at 28.8, but they have a quality of being more durable over the long term, incredibly accurate, and anecdotally, I have probably observed more 8500s running at fractions of a second per day on a 6-position chronoscope than I've seen from any other movement family from any other brand. So it's exceptionally precise. It does feature hacking seconds, such that you pull the crown, you can stop the balance, and it features an impressive time zone function, such that in an intermediate position you can actually set the hour hand independently of the minutes and seconds, so you can jump forward or backwards, driving the date as you go, without interrupting the isochronism or the progress of the balance in progress. Essentially a watch that will not be interrupted by setting it to accommodate jumps in time zones. Now the other thing about the movement is that it has a SI14 amagnetic silicon hairspring, so it's robustly protected from the effects of magnetism in a way that even the parachrom hairspring of the Rolex isn't quite. So now this watch, you can see, more massive than the Rolex, but actually more compact. It's broad, with the crown fully screwed in. The watch is actually 55.5 millimeters across the wrist, that is from 3 to 9. So across, it's as broad as the Deepsea is from solid end link to solid end link. It's when you measure it between the edges of the lugs, the absolute span across the wrist is only, you ready for this? 48 millimeters. And you can see the bracelet can be pulled straight down. So this is actually an easier watch. If you can deal with the heft of it and the thickness, it's an easier watch to wear on a smaller wrist than the Deepsea. Now, whether the look works for you is going to be a matter of individual taste. It's not a versatile aesthetic, but it is a purposeful one, and you can see the clasp is just as impressive as Rolex's. The gliding system is actually a little bit more user-friendly because it's activated by a push button, so you have that micrometric adjustment capability. Then you also have a deployable milled-out extension for dive suits, and it gives you about the same amount of absolute extension between the slider and the flip lock, or the flip out, I should say, that you would get on the Deepsea. Now, the only way to finish off this showcase is with a true Loom test. So I'm going to focus in on the plane of my display board. I'm going to bring in my 400 lumen LED. I'm going to energize completely. And as the lights go down, the curtain rises on an incredible display of Loom. Now, normally, this is where the lights would come back on, but I don't think it's possible to top this spectacle. Nothing I could say, nothing I could do, nothing I could show you. So this has been a combination of the Omega Seamaster Professional 1200 meter PLOPROF and the Rolex Oyster Perpetual Deepsea Sea Dweller. You can see these Titans and you can purchase them on our website.